Welcome to the journey of an awakening spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. The journey of an awakening spirit is about teaching you a variety of tools that you can use to step into your true self. It is about self-discovery, realizing you are not alone on your journey. We will open the phone lines, give readings, and talk about what our listeners want to know. So please welcome the host of the journey of an awakening spirit, Kathleen Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit, and I'm your host, Kathleen Flanagan, on the Bold Brave TV network. And today I want to talk about transformation, the fundamentals of alignment. So what comes to mind when you think of transformation? The dictionary states that it's a marked change, usually as an appearance in character, and it's usually for the better. So how many of you see yourself one way, but you act another? And how many of you feel misunderstood? Do you ever get the impression that no one ever really sees you? And have you ever had the experience of feeling like you were in hell and you did not know how you arrived, or worse yet, how to leave? All these questions are showing you your disconnect. And your disconnect is with yourself. So I'm going to explain the fundamentals of aligning with yourself and how you got those mental programmings or paradigms and tools in how to reconnect with yourself and move in the direction of your dreams. But first, I want to talk about alignment. And I'd like to explain what that means to you, steps in how you can notice if you are or not in alignment with yourself, and how you can master it. So alignment is a state of being, and it takes practice. And the more aware you are when you get out of alignment and put yourself back in, the easier it gets. And there's a difference between knowing and practicing the principles. Alignment is a practice. Dedication and consistency are key. Just like the athlete, to be the best in the world takes practice, consistency, and dedication. So alignment is about feeling good. It's finding happiness consistently, like when you were a child. Happiness is our natural state, and so is alignment. And the journey of alignment is not seeking it out, but letting it find you. So we create our happiness through a string of tiny happy moments. And I want to take this down to the ridiculous so you can really understand what I'm talking about. So when you want to create a year of happiness, what you do is you create 12 consecutive months, and then there's 4 consecutive weeks, and then 7 consecutive days. Then you bring it down to 12 waking hours, to 1 hour, to 60 minutes, to 1 minute, to 60 seconds. And so what you're doing is you're actually creating your happiness, because we always think that happiness is coming from outside of us. And I'm just as guilty as anyone else, because I used to think if I had this or that, I would be happy. If I had a new house or a boyfriend or whatever it was, and I would be happy. And I never really stopped to think that happiness actually comes from inside. And when we're kids, we play, we just play. We have fun. We just use our imagination, and we can make fun out of just about anything that we've experienced in our life up until that point. And so, but as we age and get older, for some reason, we don't know how to remember how to play, because we go to school, then we're in college, then we have work, then you have kids. And when the kids start getting older is when you start remembering to play a little bit more. I mean, I always get a kick out of the dads that have the nail polish on their nails and makeup on their face because they're playing with their little girls. And I think that is so awesome that you have these macho men playing dress up with their daughters. And, but that's fun, because that's what kids want. That's what we should be doing, is having fun. And who cares what people think about us? So when we're trying to create being happy, it's about being present right here, right now, that you're in the moment right now. You can't control how happy you're going to be today, tomorrow, next year. It's all you have is the present moment. So in order to master alignment, it really is about an emotional game. Most humans are give most of their emotional power away to circumstances which are outside of their control. For example, if your boss praises you for something, you feel accomplished, or your neighbor praises you for your garden and you feel proud. And alternatively, if you bring home moldy cheese from the grocery store, you feel frustrated and you get angry. So now it's time to take back your inner control over your circumstances, conditions, and situations, which cause these negative mood swings. So we try to manipulate our circumstances to make us feel better. And I was notorious for this. I didn't want to make changes to anybody. I didn't want to make people be something they weren't, but I knew how to manipulate circumstances. And to me, that was really a cool thing to do because I wasn't so-called controlling anything, but I really was controlling a lot at that point. And what I did come to learn over the years is that I could never control my circumstances. And so what I had to do is I had to learn how to detach and let go and disconnect from outcomes. And you need to decide that you want to be happy and then make that a priority. So about 2 years ago, I think it was when I really decided that I really wanted to be happy and really push in that direction. And I started really looking at how I manage my happiness. Like when I'm a ballroom dancer. So when I'm dancing, that was easy because I'm doing what I love. I'm having body movement. I feel creative. I feel energized. I can grump at my dance instructors because they would hurt me because they would make me stretch. And I don't think I could stretch any further. And of course, we always can. But, it was just fun. To me, that was fun. And I told my instructors that if they ever stopped pushing me, I would be very angry at them. So even if I'm grumping, that means I'm happy. And it's a weird way to show that, but it's what I was doing. It's how I had to bring joy back into my life. And when we bring happiness back and we take control of our happiness, what I discovered at that point also was that I had a lot of positive things were happening in my life because I was being childlike. I was having fun. I was laughing. I was moving. And it was like I brought like a different kind of people around me. I was able to not be so angry or grumpy or frustrated or God is after me or whatever headrash I would tell myself. So when I really focused on coming into alignment with myself, it made a big difference in just a whole bunch of everything else. I mean, my self-image came up about, well, I really want to look a certain way or dress a certain way because now I'm looking at my future self. Who do you want to be 5 years from now? And I have big dreams of where I want to be and what I want to do. So there's that self-image that comes along with that. So if I want to move into that person, then that means I need to be in alignment with myself. And if I think that my future self should be, lose 10 pounds or cut my hair or wear my makeup differently, then I'm going to do that because first of all, it's going to make me feel better. I'm going to feel more in alignment with myself because we already know how we feel and we always let our outside circumstances affect us. And I have been very guilty about that. And the one way that I was able to start moving in out of that, allowing my circumstances to control me, was I started having a morning practice. And I didn't realize at the time how important a morning practice was. I've heard about them for years. I would do some, but I would never go to the extent that I started doing a few years ago. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. What you're trying to do in your morning practice is that you want to just feel good and you want to feel happy. And so one of the practices that I do is I start my day with gratitude. And I also end my day with gratitude because gratitude keeps you in a higher vibration. A lot more positiveness comes into you. It starts going into your subconscious mind when you have an attitude of gratitude. And I really believe that gratitude is one of the biggest fundamental changes I made in my life when I really started showing more of that. And I also write down my goals and I listen to inspiration on YouTube or on podcasts or whatever. So where I'm learning a little bit more about myself, what else I can do to understand what I can do, and that I stay on the right track. And it keeps me moving in that direction. So I am taking those baby steps that I want to move into the next direction. And some could have a meditation practice, some could be doing yoga, it could be exercising, running. It's whatever brings you into that place of happiness to where you feel good. And you want to be in that good mood. So when you're ready to go out into the world or work, instead of having, go out and have road rage on the way to work and then your day's gone for the rest of the day, when you have a morning practice, this actually helps you to stay grounded in that happiness a little bit more. So once you had finished with your morning practice, then I want you to rank your happiness on 0 to 10, and 0 being unhappy and 10, you're so happy that you literally irritate everyone around you. For example, when I was a teenager, my mother would sing "You Are My Sunshine" when we got up, and we all just scowled at her because it's like, why are you so friggin' happy? I mean, can you imagine 13, 14, 15 years old and your mother's singing, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," and you're just like, oh my God, please save me. But the whole point was, I think she was trying to teach us and show us that if you're happy, everything's good. So even though we grumped at her, she still kept singing that song every morning when all of her girls got up. And it was so funny. And I remember talking to her years later about it. And she finally stopped because she kind of got tired of all of her girls just grumping at her in the morning. And it was so funny. It was like, wow, I didn't even realize what you were doing at the time, but it was just kind of an interesting thing, and not realizing that this is so important to do. So anyways, so then when you go out into your day, then you want to check in with yourself throughout the day. So if you left the house and say you were at a happiness level of 8, and you come back and then you notice later on, like an hour or two later, you're like at a 4. Well, what you need to do is you just need to stop and check in on what caused that happiness level of yours to drop. I mean, could have been somebody cut you off in traffic. It was, you heard some bad news on the radio. I mean, it's just a matter of trying to decide what it was that brought you back down. And once you discover that, then what it does is that you now have an opportunity to bring yourself back up into that happiness mode. And if it was something that happened in traffic or on the road, then you know that you don't have to let that affect you the next day, because now you know that something in traffic, an accident or somebody does something, you don't have to let that affect you, that you can stay happy, but it's about being present in that. And it's also suggested that I would suggest is you check in with yourself throughout the day. I mean, either have a timer or put something, on a calendar of just like, where are you right now in the moment? And what that does is it just keeps you very present, because a lot of times we can go into like autopilot and not realize that we're in autopilot. And then all of a sudden we just kind of discover, well, why do I feel kind of weird? And a lot of times we don't stop and move into that next direction. So we just push ourselves and just stay there instead of stopping, taking a breath, reflecting. And then once we discover it, then we can get back on to the next portion of our day. So we're going to take a break from our sponsors right now. But when I come back, I have a few questions that you can ask yourself so you can kind of continue to maintain where you're going. And I'm going to give you some steps on what you can do as well. So we'll just see you back here in a few minutes.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, your host on the Bold Brave TV network. So we're talking about when your happiness level drops, and you need to reflect on why that happened. So, did your boss say something to you? Did a paradigm show up? And did you not get the call you were expecting? I mean, who knows what it could be? It could be a lot of things, but it's like, these are the questions you ask yourself when you're reflecting back as to when you were happy and then when that went down. So a couple of questions that you can ask yourself is, what circumstances or thought caused that wobble that pulled you down? Because if you ask, your inside, your intuition, whatever, will let you know. And then what was the emotional state that triggered you that brought your happy scale, that brought you down on the happy scale? And these two questions are going to do two things. First, it's going to help you to build emotional resilience. So if you were at an 8 on your happiness level and you notice you went to a 4, and as you reflect on what changed, you discovered it had to do with getting stuck in a traffic jam on your way to work. The next day, you can anticipate that traffic jam where it doesn't cause you to drop in your happiness level. And if you do this every day, you're going to learn more of what causes you to drop in your happiness level, and then you can anticipate the future and not allow it to affect you. You are mastering your thoughts and your life by doing this. And if you continue to do this with practice and repetition, the subconscious mind will start to reprogram itself, and you are one step closer to brushing things off. The second thing that's going to happen is you're going to become emotionally aware. And this is that circumstances that create the wobble and cause you to dip in your happiness scale triggers some emotions. So when you're looking at the specific emotions, you need to look at what's the dominant negative emotion. And what I mean by that is that when I get triggered, I show up as anger, and my emotional state is I'm unworthy. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, it's always anger and unworthiness. So in taking this one step further, I also realize that I take everything personally. So you really got to look at that emotional side of how this is, because there's a thinking side to what we do, and there's that emotional side. But it's never personal when circumstances, situations, or conditions appear. All they are learning opportunities, but we don't see it that way because I've always thought, well, God doesn't like me today, or he did this, or he's mad at me, or, it was always everyone else's fault. It was never, ever my fault. I never wanted to take responsibility for anything that I thought or anything that I did. I don't know where I learned that from, but it was just something that I do. And I think all as we're little kids, I think we do that immediately. So even, because I remember, you see kids and they get caught their hands are caught in the cookie jar and they're saying, I didn't do it, or they start crying. And it's the funniest thing. So I think this is like an innate ability thing that we do with ourselves, is that we're just never wrong. And so when I want to reflect on it and change it, what I realize is I don't have to take it on. So if my boss said something to me and I didn't like what he said, that doesn't mean I have to take it on or that I'm a bad person. It's that I can reflect on what he said. I can look at it. I can see if there's something that needs to be changed and whatever it was that was being brought to my attention. But I didn't have to feel unworthiness about it, or I didn't have to be angry of like I should know better, or he just doesn't like me, or whatever weird stuff that we say to ourselves about this, because I'm not a bad person. And the only way I'm a bad person is if I decide I'm going to take it on in that way and start punishing myself. And the reason we probably punish ourselves is because we were punished when we were kids. So if we did something wrong, we learned that if we did something wrong, we were punished for it. So when we're punishing ourselves for just being human, doesn't make any sense. And it's like, we have to stop doing that. It's about time that we start looking at ourselves, that we are children of God, and where we are is perfect right where we are, because if we weren't supposed to be here, we'd be somewhere else. I mean, we're here learning. This is what we do on this planet. This is an evolutionary school where we learn and we grow and we change. But if we're not conscious, nothing changes. I mean, we have so many tools and gifts that were given to us, and we just put negative emotions on everything. And the thing is that all of us want to go around of, I want to be happy, I want to be loved, I want to feel happy, joyfulness, and be playful and all of this, but don't give me anger, frustration, jealousy, unworthiness, all of that. And the thing is we put the charge on those emotions. They're just emotions. They're not good, bad, right, or wrong. They're just emotions. And our emotions are teaching us things. And the one thing that I've learned when I really started practicing these principles of alignment and wanting to be happy, it does get easier. It has gotten so much easier to where I laugh more freely. It's not like I'm trying to find something to be happy or laugh about. I just am, because I've learned to start accepting myself. I realize I'm a good person. A lot of the things that I walked around my life with this big chip on my shoulder were all lies that were put on me, and I took them on because I didn't know any better. And as I started deciding what I want and live the life that I want, because I am a gift, as you are, and I do have a purpose for life in life, as you do, and we all have a meaning and we all have a purpose. We may not know what that is, but we learn it. When we learn this as we go through our disconnect. And part of that is our disconnect is when we have emotional baggage, and we don't know what that is, but it's like what we picked up over our life experience, and it remains unprocessed, which then brings us into our paradigms, which we're going to talk about next week. But when we start owning every element of who we are and take total 100 responsibility that everything is your fault, your life will change. I promise you, it will change. And, and I can't tell you how many times I walked around going, I did not create this. And yes, I did. And the only reason I know that I did afterwards was because when I got on the other side, it was a monumental change. So when we are constantly saying, I would never do this to myself, I would never do this. Yes, we did, because there's something inside of us that knows that there's a self-limiting belief within us that we need to transform. We need to bring light into that dark part of ourselves. So when we're looking at changing and growing, I promise you, all that garbage is going to come up to your face, every bit of it. And our world right now is a prime example of what's happening. There is so much light coming onto the planet right now, and people are so out of alignment with themselves. They're out of touch with themselves. They live on their phone 24/7, and there's no connection with another human. And being on social media and thinking that you're connected to another human, that's not true at all, because connection is being face to face. It's being able to touch. It's about being in somebody else's energy and experiencing that. It's the exchange of coming together. And there's a magic in that, especially when you're talking about something really powerful or dynamic or growing, and you're learning and you're evolving. I mean, that's part of this whole thing of little text messages don't generally help you to grow. It doesn't trigger thought processes, but being in somebody's energy does that. Because I remember when I was younger, I'm so intuitive and so sensitive to everything that I couldn't go to parties or be around a lot of people, because it was like I was on an overload. There was too much going on, and I'd be like, like I could hear everybody's thoughts. I could feel everybody's emotions. I didn't even know how to speak to anybody, because I just was so overwhelmed with stimulation from people. And this is what happens to babies. Okay, this is really kind of cool, because I remember, because as babies, all we do is we feel everything. We're just little sponges as newborns or whatever. And so a lot of times when the baby sleeps, it's getting used to its new environment, its new life. And then mom and dad decide we're going to go out and get something to eat because, we're going batty in the house. And they take the baby along. And so the baby's nice and quiet for so long. And then all of a sudden it starts wailing, and it won't stop wailing. And I just sit there and go, oh my God, do you have any idea that this baby has just picked up everything going on in this restaurant? And so mom and dad, of course, can't eat, and everybody's looking at them, and then they're embarrassed, but they want to keep staying. And sometimes they leave, sometimes they don't. It just depends. But, it's like, I feel like going over there and saying, do you realize that your child has just taken everything in this restaurant on, and it doesn't know how to deal with it? So what it's doing, it's screaming to get rid of this energy. That's how I felt when I was in my 20s, and when I could feel everything. And so what I had to do is I had to really start understanding and looking at, well, what's me and what's them? Because when I was picking up everything from other people, it's me, it's them, it's me, it's them. That's what I used to do. Oh God, I used to do that all the time to myself. I made myself crazy going, it's me, it's them, it's me, it's them, it's me, it's them. And it was like half the time it wasn't even me, it was them. But I couldn't get a hold of that. So what I did, and this was really, I don't know what made me think about this, but I'm a recovering Catholic. We'll just set that right straight now. And I ended up, because I had so much craziness around not knowing who I was and who I was when I was around people, I actually asked for peace of mind. That was the biggest thing I asked for at that point. And I said the rosary every night. I think I did a novena or something like that, to ask to just have peace of mind. And when I had it at the end of this rosary novena, I was really surprised of what that actually meant. Because you know what happened? I never questioned, is it me, is it them? Is it me, is it them? It was them, or it was me, but it was never, is it who is it? And to me, that was like, wow, this was huge to be able to ask for that kind of help, because I really, really needed to stop this head trash. And I was in my 20s when I did this, because I would have, I had a neighbor at one point who was, she was crazy. And I found out that the guy I was living with would cuss all day because he worked nights, and I was gone during the day. And as soon as I came home, she called the police on me. And I'm like, I don't even know why she's calling the police. And I just got home from work, and I just never knew what was going on. And there was this point that I was so angry and raging at her. And I just wanted to wish all this dark, evil, nasty stuff on her. And I didn't want her to have that kind of control over me. So the only thing I knew to do again was I pulled out the rosary and said a novena, and it was all directed towards her. And because I didn't want to feel like I was a victim, and I didn't understand what was going on. And then we ended up in court. I didn't go, my boyfriend at the time went, and found out later that what she was angry about is that he was cussing. Her babies are in the backyard playing, and I don't blame her. I'd be upset too. But why wouldn't she just say something to him? Why did she call the police when I came home? Because I was an easy mark? I don't know. But the thing that came out of that whole situation was that she wanted to be my best friend. Now, I never trusted her after that. I mean, we were friendly and I was nice and I was neighborly and all of that. But I was like, I kept her at an arm's distance because of what she had done. I had forgiven her to the best of my ability at that time, but it was about trying to take control because everything affected me. Everything affected me. And it really made me crazy and I didn't know I could control all of my emotions at that time. And when I started, and the only thing I knew to do, and this is at the very early onset of my spiritual journey. I mean, I started at 16, like I told you last week, but now I'm starting to read and study and take on more principles. And the only reason I did a lot of the rosary stuff was because I was a Catholic. And that was all, at that moment, I knew what to do because I believed in God, but I didn't know how to really talk to God or communicate with God. My mother used to tell me all the time that, why are you going to God? You're supposed to use this hierarchy. And I'm like, what? What do you mean I'm supposed to use a hierarchy? What the hell are you talking about? I said, if I want to talk to God, I'm going to talk to God. And if I want to tell him to screw off, I'm going to do that too. And he's going to still love me. And my mother was mortified that I would say these things and talk to God that way. But I was like, who the hell cares? This is my personal relationship with God. It's whatever that is for you as well. So anyways, but I wanted to just kind of share a little bit more about just how we are so out of control with our emotions. And these are definitely techniques that we can move into that direction of starting to take more control. Well, we're going to take a short break to hear a message from our sponsors, and I will see you shortly.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
It was almost instant, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are on the Bold Brave TV network. So I wanted to continue about taking control of your emotions and getting back into alignment with yourself. Now, we all know what we were how we feel about things. And, we all have our own goals and dreams and aspirations that we want to live in life. And yet life has a way of sidetracking a lot of those dreams or responsibilities because you got married and had children, and now you're in a job that you may or may not like, and you just feel like whatever that was for you that you wanted to do, but life took a different turn. Well, I'm here to tell you that even though life may have taken that turn, that doesn't mean that those goals and dreams and aspirations aren't going to manifest for you. I mean, if you really want it, it's going to happen. But a lot of it comes back down to being in alignment with yourself. I mean, who are you really? How do you feel about things? Who do you want to be? How do you want to act in life? Because that was the biggest thing when I started this transformation, because I always saw myself one way in my head, but I was acting another way. And that was the reaction of emotions, that I didn't know how I was feeling about things. I mean, I had to learn, as we all have to learn, what our emotions are, because we're not taught about emotions. We're just saying, well, you're not allowed to be angry, or why are you so angry? Or so we know some of those, but the whole point is that when I started feeling like a little off, it was like, what am I feeling? And I had to stop and start listening to what is it. I'm like, well, I feel depressed. Well, what are you depressed about? Well, I'm not really sure what I'm depressed about. Well, what happened when it came? Well, somebody said this, and it's like, well, why is it bothering you? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know. And that's how you do it. You go deep inside of you. And I'm an expert at going deep inside of myself. I truly, truly am. And that's what makes me a really good healer, and why I'm compassionate, and people tell me everything that they want to tell me that they never tell anybody, is because I understand and I know what that is about, going really deep inside to find out what some of this negative self-talk is, or you discover your past lives. And trust me, I know so many of my past lives that, I've moved through a lot of those as well. But sometimes somebody giving you a look triggers you, and you're like, why is this triggering me? Well, there's a reason why it triggered you, and it's up to you to find out what that is. Now, it may have nothing to do with you or that person or them thinking ill, but you take it as, well, they're thinking ill of me. Well, that's not necessarily true. It's just something that they're doing that triggers something in you, that somebody must have done something or said something, or you experienced something that really caused a reaction that you need to look at so you can bring light into it and move it to that next level. This is Felix. He's decided to join us, so I apologize for the tail. Anyways, the whole point of going deep inside of you helps you to understand who you are. It starts to bring you into a place of remembering who you are, and where you can start developing boundaries, because a lot of times we don't have boundaries as a society on a whole. We just push. If somebody asks you to do something, you feel obligated to say yes, and you don't have to say yes. And that was one of the things that I started as I started really understanding more about me. And if I didn't want to do something, then why say yes? So I could be liked, so they would think I was a good person, that I was nice. I mean, that is all crap. If they don't think that of me now, then what? They're not going to think it if I do something for them. So I really started to establish boundaries that made me feel even better about myself. Because the other thing in this process is we need time to spend with ourselves. We need to calendar time for us, where mommy gets to be mommy's time without the kids coming in or hiding in a bathroom, or dad just watching TV and the kids are running rampant or whatever. I mean, there's a point that you need that time to reflect on you. You need that time to assess, who are you? What do you want? Where are you going? Because there's so many women, and I know women especially, because I've talked to enough of them. I can't say much about the men because I don't know. But women have a tendency to lose themselves in their families. They have a baby. Their life becomes about that child. They do everything for that child. The kid leaves, goes off to college, and it's just mommy and daddy as empty nesters, and they lost who they were somewhere along the way. I mean, they just dealt with life the way they dealt with life, but they lost them. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they think. They don't know what makes them happy. They have to reassess their marriage. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. And I think that if you take the time to just be with you, take care of you, do the self-care, meditate, exercise, whatever it is, all that's going to help you to gain control over your emotions, to gain control over your situations, circumstances, and conditions, because they are never meant for anything other than for your own personal growth. And what I found is that when a situation happens anymore, like last week, when we had all these technical difficulties behind the scenes, I was like, okay, whatever. It's like, we'll make it do. And I wasn't affected. I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything. And normally I was always just get really frustrated. Like, well, why is this happening to me? Well, nothing's happening to me. It's happening for me. So the way I looked at that was how much I had grown and changed because I'm practicing these principles on a daily basis. I practice these things every day. I work on being very present in my life all the time. So when something happens, it's like, okay, what do I need to do? Instead of, oh, I'm a victim. And when we have that kind of self-power over ourselves, something changes in your own thinking, in your own mind. People seem to respect you more. At least this has been for me. People want to be around you more because you're calm. I'm sorry, this is my cat. You're just feeling calm and you're stable. I guess that's a good word to call it, is that you're feeling stable or in balance. And that alignment and being in balance is everything. And I won't do anything that's going to upset me. And, I have a business partner I love to death, but he still makes me crazy. And I understand that he makes me crazy and I do everything. And it's just what it is. It's just how we are. I mean, we've been in business together for over 20 years. So, he's like my business husband, so to speak. And it's all okay because, it's all okay. It's my stuff. It's not him. It's me. It's just me. But I'm noticing that I'm not as agitated as I used to be or frustrated. It's who he is. And I accept him for who he is and I move on. And, there's times when my partner and we get into these little funky spats and he could say something and instead of reacting like I used to react because, I was so good, people knew how to push my buttons like there was no tomorrow and I'd be this crazy lady. And now it's like they do that and I just start laughing because I think it's funny. And it's like, oh my God, how many years did I waste on people pushing my buttons and I reacted instead of just laughing? Because you know what? When you're laughing, when they're trying to push your buttons, they stop pushing your buttons because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect you. And people do stuff to you intentionally just to get a reaction. So if they're not getting a reaction, guess what? They stop doing it. And you know what? Life gets even better. So I get such a kick out of, it took a lifetime to learn this, but thank God I learned it. And, and that's where we all need to be. So what I was trying to say earlier, then I got off on a tangent, was the darkness that's going on. We're not in darkness. It just looks like everything is dark and doom and gloom. And ever since the pandemic, life has changed dramatically. Dramatically. It's not the same world by any stretch of the imagination. And we're all learning how to deal with it, adapt to it, continue to grow and thrive and learn and evolve. And what the biggest thing that I know is that this planet is in the dark night of the soul. And it is that much light coming into the dark recesses of us, of what's going on in our governments, what's going on in the police force, all of this, child trafficking, all of that. This is all darkness where light needs to penetrate, and the light is. And it's not easy to see this. It's not easy to deal with this. And the one thing that this gives us an opportunity to start showing compassion to those less fortunate, to be somebody's hero, because you're a bigger person than that. So when you start growing and really stepping into your true magnificence, the world's going to change, and it'll flip instantly once enough people start moving into this new direction. And so I do my best. It's not always easy, but I do my best to just be compassionate, try to understand what's going on, what can I do to help somebody. And the biggest thing that I have found over this last several years is just listening and smiling and looking someone in the eye to acknowledge that they're there. Because a lot of times we don't even pay attention. We don't pay attention to the checker at the grocery store who's checking us out. We just sit there, we're on our phones, or we're looking to make sure we got everything, or we're trying to get the baby quiet because it wants whatever seeing at a point of checkout. It wants the candy or whatever. And we're not acknowledging that there's another human being standing in front of us that could be having a good day, could be having a bad day, could be having trauma in their life. They could have lost a loved one. I mean, we don't know. And so, I'm guilty of this myself, but I really work on trying to just be more compassionate, acknowledging somebody else is on this planet besides me, because it's not always about me, even though our world is about me and us and all of that. So anyways, I just wanted to share there's like the positiveness that comes out, that you become such a bigger person when you start taking personal responsibility for who you are and acknowledging that, because your world gets so much easier when you take responsibility for your thoughts, actions, words, and deeds. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to take a message. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flanagan, your host on the Bold Brave TV network. So, to wind everything up, it's all about taking personal responsibility, and it's about really paying attention to how you're feeling throughout your day. If you start out with a morning practice, get yourself in that really nice high vibration and start out that way, then you start gaining tools to move into just having more power and control in your own personal well-being. And when you stop and look at when you shift your thoughts or your feelings are feeling a little frustrated, or you're not feeling as happy, stop and look at what is it that caused that. And I do this a lot throughout the day, because there are sometimes all of a sudden I guess that there's this doom and gloom, and I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? And it's just like, oh, I think I'm just in a process of moving something, getting ready to move into something really big, and the ego comes in and it's scared to death, and so it's going to do doom and gloom and think I'm going to die. And believe me, when we talk about paradigms next week, our paradigms can do an awful lot of things. I'm sorry, I have a very grumpy cat. Sorry. So with the cat, so our paradigms have a tendency to move into a physical aspect of that. And so you can think that you're unhappy, or you're going to have a heart attack or whatever. That's how strong a paradigm can be. And we're going to go into more of that next week. But when I stop and take that time to reflect, I feel like I'm more on an even keel because I'm doing that. And when it says that it's going to start going into your subconscious mind where you just automatically start feeling happy and being happy all the time, that is very true. It takes a little bit of time because it's about practicing these new tools, about just paying attention to staying in alignment with who you are. I mean, you know what makes you happy. You know what makes you feel good. You know when something throws you off kilter. But why should your emotional state be off kilter because something happened in a microcosm of a second kind of thing? So that's part of just really moving into part of self-mastery. And I think that's a really dynamic and powerful word, is to say, I've self-mastered myself. I mean, we're always still going to learn. We're still human. We're never going to fully get there, but we're there, okay? We're there. I mean, I'm a master right here, right now, where I'm sitting. And tomorrow I'm going to be at a whole new level of mastery because I just put another 24 hours behind me on mastering who I am. So there's really something to be said about aging. I know we live in a society that doesn't think much about aging, but you know what? That's where our wisdom comes in. That's when we start realizing what's important and what's not important in life. But as you're going through your life, it's just take control of your life. You know, just be in control of who you are and be happy with who you are right here, right now. Because, you know, if you're in a not so fun, pleasant situation, this too shall pass. It always does. We ebb and flow in our life. We switch back in our life. We have a goal, a dream. It's not a straight shot. We switch back. There's no getting around it. And I remember I had a dream once about that, and I'm like, oh my God, I finally got to the top of the mountain, and I wasn't where I wanted to be yet, but I was at the top of the mountain. And then I looked down and I was switchbacking back and forth going downhill, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So this is a journey. So yes, I got to the top of the mountain because I got so much out of my way. So now to get to where I want to go, now I refine and tweak who I am, where I want, really get more in alignment with myself. So that's what's really kind of an interesting thing of, you know, the mountain's always there. If you're either climbing up or you're climbing down, it doesn't matter. You're going to switch back. But I figured if I'm climbing down, that means I'm really close to my journey. And that was years ago, but I'm getting there. And I'm happy to be where I am right now. I mean, life is good, and life is good even when it's in the toilet, it's good. So, you know, we're still alive, we're breathing. That's all that matters. So anyways, I want to say thank you for joining me today. And I want to just remind you that I am a certified coach. And if you want to learn more about what I do and where if you want to have a consultation or get coaching or whatever, you can always go to the KMF, KathleenMFlanagan.com. And under services, there's that. And then I do have a link if you wanted to have a 15-minute call to see if you have any questions or you want to talk about anything in particular. So I'm very open to that, and we can discuss things further. I'm also have awakeningspirit.com is a aromatherapy body care product line that I have been working with since 1995. It's my company. It's all my formulations. I created every product that's out there. And We're in the process of rebranding, and so if you put in the coupon code Brave TV, you'll receive a 40% discount because we're trying to move all of the old product. None of the formulas are going to change on the products. We're just moving into a new look to bring it a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more into the new century, so to speak. So I'm really excited about that, but the products are really amazing products. They are designed to work. It was created due to the illness that I had, and I use my products all the time, and I absolutely love my products. So I really highly recommend, if you want to be pain-free, therapeutic oils do amazing things for sure. And then the skincare does a lot of amazing things, but everything that I have really works. It's all designed to help feed your skin, nourish your skin, and it also helps you to remember who you are, because you start learning how to listen to your body, and because our body's always talking to us. And then I also have grandmasnaturalremedies.net, and that is a CBD company that is strictly CBD. Everything has been tested. Everything on the website is, again, it works. That's my personal opinion, but we are wired with the endocannabinoid system, and when I really learned that and experienced it for myself, I have been amazed. And the people that have had a lot of relief from using the products and the benefits that CBD does, but it doesn't look like CBD, and that was the whole point. Is some people don't want to look like they're using marijuana, so I created that, and I've always been a firm believer of going back into what our grandmothers, my grandmother, your great-grandmother, did, because there was something about the simplicity of life. And even though our life is a lot more complicated and hectic, it's just time to go back and remember who we are and come back into a simpler time. So next week, we're going to continue the transformation, and we're going to talk about paradigms, what they are, how to form them, how to move through them, and all of that. And so I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. This is Kathleen Flanagan with The Journey of an Awakening Spirit. We're streaming on the Bold Brave TV, and from my heart to yours, make it a great week.
This has been The Journey of an Awakening Spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. Join Kathleen each week as she will inspire and empower all those who are drawn to her to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. Right here Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.